Let me show you what diaphanization looks like when it goes wrong. And here's my pet ball python, Calliope. Just kidding. This was a commission. Calliope is no longer alive. This was a mummification that was commissioned for me over probably a year ago now. It was all an experiment on, I was new to mummies. I didn't know if I could pull this off, but I think it turned out very well. I've been doing a lot of experimentation with mummification, and this was the biggest thing I'd done so far. So I'm glad it worked out. Still a little flaky. But what I had to do was, first I dissected it using just a couple of strategic holes that I was able to get my forceps in and take everything out. And I stuffed it with polyfill. Then I took the body and I wrapped it in a giant oven bag, double wrapped it in an oven bag, and I shaped it around the stick in the bag. So there's a bag between the body and the stick. And that's how I preserved it as a wet specimen, with formalin to solidify it, fixate it, all the tissues so it would stay that position. And the whole 9 yards, the formalin fixation, leaching the formaldehyde out, using alcohol. I made a full wet specimen in this position to ensure it would keep shape. Then what I did was I took the stuffing out. I took out all the stuffing because it was, I just felt like it was contaminated. And then I stuffed it really hard, super stuffed. I didn't want any sinking in of the tissues. I didn't want it to look like a mummy. I wanted this thing to look alive. And then I took paper and bubble wrap and I stuffed it in all these holes, and I wrapped it all up so that it would stay put. And then I dried it using my mummification method. I should really make a whole video about that because it's kind of cool. Yeah, if I were to do anything differently, I would have sewn up these holes. They were little tiny slits, you couldn't tell, but when the tissue dried up and it shrunk and it pulled taut, it kind of opened those holes up a little bit. But it's not horrible because it is the underside, so you can't see it when it's sitting like this. It was very important to the owner that she was posed on her favorite stick, so that's why I was working with this and why it was so difficult. I wouldn't have left it like this. I would have spruced it up a little bit more if I was going to sell it, but I'm going to ship it to the owner this way, and then they are going to place this in a little glass enclosure with fake leaves or moss or whatever to make it look even more like a terrarium setting. One thing I always do with my mummies though, and I think it makes such a difference. Let's see if I can focus on that. There we go. These little taxidermy eyes. I'll show you a picture right here of what it looks like before you add the eyes. All dried and mummified and gross and crusty, versus how lifelike is that? This animal looks alive. I am packaging this up and sending it back to the owner right now, so I wanted to just get some footage of that because I hadn't yet. Because it was all experimental and I didn't really know what I was doing, I didn't film it or anything. I didn't document it in detail until I knew what it was going to turn out to be. But I think this is a great product to add to my lineup. Excuse me, Damus. Excuse me. Excuse me. Thought I'd show you guys my mummy box while we were talking about that ball python. This here's my mummy box. That is a personal pet of mine, genetic stripe ball python that died at a pretty young age due to a freak infection. Mummified in a circular pattern. I'm going to put that in a little frame, and that one's for me. Got some geckos that I'm finishing up, commission and non-commission. They're actually done. I just plucked their eyes out, and I need to just put these little taxidermy eyes in them, and they'll be finished, ready to frame. So what I use to mummify are these silica beads. These is regular old silica beads like you find in your new pair of shoes. But these ones change color in the presence of moisture, so they're super handy when you're trying to dry something out. You throw it in there, and after a day or two you check, and if all the beads have changed color, there's still too much moisture, you take them out, throw them in the oven, low temperature, dries them out, they change their color back to their original state, and you can reuse them again and again. I used to use salt, but salt just gets crusty and you gotta scrape it off, and then it forms giant rocks you gotta break up. I really should do a whole video on how I do these mummified specimens, because they turn out pretty cool. So things have not been going so well here in the lab. If you remember my last vlog, there's a clip of me trying to work in the freezing cold of my garage workshop. I had to stop doing that. Some of my reagents, like this acid here, freeze solid at like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So I actually was breaking glassware, warming chemicals up and then taking them out, and they'd freeze again, and I'd warm them up and the glass would shatter. And when that happens and you don't know if your chemical's gonna be in the right liquid or solid phase, things can go wrong. So as you can see, we are now here in my spare bathroom. And I wish I could say that was the end of the problems, but things have been going wrong. And I don't know if it's because I was rushing things along because I was trying to finish these before the expo on the 20th, or if it's because those chemical temperatures were out of whack there for a minute when I started before I moved it here. But either way, let me show you what diaphanization looks like when it goes wrong. This bottle right here is supposed to be in the clearing phase, and while you can see that some specimens are definitely stained well and the bones are shining through and it's starting to clear up, the liquid is not supposed to be this color. Something is probably rotting or going wrong, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. When these little specimens started finishing first, same thing happened. I was able to find a couple of the specimens that were rotting and clean them out. Well, I thought I cleaned it out really well, but the liquid is still changing colors in ways that it shouldn't. I could probably, as it gets clearer and clearer, I can probably identify the source and pull out the rotting. I think what it is these fish that I did, because it was really hard to cut inside and remove a lot of the organs. I think I can still see organs in this fish right here. That might have been it. But overall, some of these are turning out pretty good. It's hard to tell on the camera with all the glare and the nasty colors. This is the rest that haven't even been stained red yet. So those will probably definitely not be ready for the expo. That's less than 2 weeks. But whatever's not rotten in this jar should be alright. And this little jar, these little guys should be alright. So I should easily be adding 15-20 specimens to the diaphanization lineup for this upcoming expo. I hope when a jar goes bad, it doesn't make every specimen go bad and rot, but I think I can isolate where the problem is and fix it. Thank you to members of my Patreon, without whom I would not be able to get new equipment like this. Yeah, it sucks when you want to make a YouTube channel, but the YouTube algorithm tanks, and you want to invest in nice lights and stands and microphones and cameras. Extra special thanks goes out to my Patreon SOG, or Sirens of Gorgoroth. That's the only way that I know this person is through their username. Top tier member of my Patreon, contributing to this content creation. If anyone here knows a better, more efficient way to skin bony tropical fish, you shoot me a message. A lot of people don't realize that diaphanized specimens are tougher than they look. They can be very fragile after all the flesh has been digested, but I mean, you can imagine like they're as strong as a jelly bean, you know? Jelly bean, you can flop her around, cut it open, dissect it a little bit, it's still gonna be a intact jelly bean. Can you guess that one? It's the first one I've ever done. Ooh, this is a very fragile jelly bean. Oh, I think I found the winner. Oh no. Oh yeah. This is our guy. I can tell by the smell. You probably can't though. I don't know if this is actually salvageable. If it's just the guts or if the meat is rotten and do I need to throw it back in formaldehyde? Or is it just toast? It's quite possible, being the biggest fish, that it didn't have time to cure properly like everything else did. I don't know. He's a pretty cool guy though. Wouldn't want to waste him. Yeah, I think I'll just set this guy aside for now and experiment with him, seeing if throwing him back in formaldehyde would help. A lot of this is just that, trial and error, experimenting. I mean, there's no scientific paper on what to do if you screw up a lot, so just have to see if it works. See if there's any more egregious mistakes in here. The rest seem to be pretty good. Oh wait, this guy. Oh yeah. No, he's turning out good. Ooh. Oh yeah, he's turning out real good. I like that. So the scales stain red. Unfortunately, they also just come off really easy. But that's why this one looks completely red. This one has big scales that are kind of coming off. So I'll try and preserve that as it is. I think I got all the bad apples, so I'll do another liquid change without this guy in it. See if anything changes. If this is salvageable. Really hope it is. This is thousands of dollars of product right here. This is thousands of dollars of product that I need to sell. So we're gonna make it work. I finished up the human specimens from vlog number 1, which were commissions, and the owner of the uterus came so fast to pick it up, I had to make a makeshift photo shoot where I took pictures of the uterus and the finger. The uterus is already picked up, finger's gonna be picked up tomorrow, but I think it made for a pretty good photo opportunity. I mean, you would never have known that I just put a sweater on some boxes in front of my TV stand below my snake cage and the TV I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West on. And as you can see from the photos, I mean, they turned out alright.